I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is the actual first match of the actual week 4 of the actual 2025 Carcassonne Champions League. Rather a spontaneous stream because, as always is the case, the match is scheduled at a short notice. There's a lot of things going on. Now in Group B we have the player with the elaborate screen name QAZ of China, also known as Self-Evident, also known as Xiang Yuqin, the semi-finalist of the 2023 World Championship, also world champion of the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship with Team China, will be playing against the Italian expert with a screen name Lambe. And more important match for the Chinese player more than it is for the Italian, because QAZ here is still in contention for the title, of course, but for starters, for trying to qualify out of this group. In order to do that, you'll need to be in the top 3 spot. He has won one match in 3 games, has not been quite the best tournament for him. But if he manages win just this one against the Italian, where he would be around a 70% favorite, I would expect, just based on experience, then his chances of qualifying would indeed look great. As for Lambe, probably at this point more of a match for prestige, trying to get one in. The decisive events for him were actually yesterday when he did lose against Hector Arce of Chile, 2-0. Probably if he does win this one with a good tiebreaker and then 2 more, and then round 5 match, then maybe some possibilities are there with the Italian, but it does not seem that it's going to be very likely, as we have a very blocky start of this match, where the Italian with the yellow meeples just got 2 of those blocked on this city, which will yield him just 5 points, so that's only a 2.5 yield per meeple. This is really, really difficult to deal with, but maybe Yellow has some hope, because he is ahead on the scoreboard as a result of completing this 6-point city. And this square over here next to Red's monastery, that's the Chinese player, he actually has some problems of his own. It is quite unlikely for this monastery to be completed, because there's only 1 dagger that fits into this square and only 2 that fit into this square. And even if the Chinese player draws all of the stuff that he needs, then it is quite possible that the daggers, being valuable tiles, will be needed elsewhere. For example, an option that I see, maybe QAZ takes a 5-point monastery here or something. At least this is the move that I would go for. There's also this 5-point monastery option, this option which is a bit inferior, this option as well, so he will be taking one of those, and of course he takes the monastery option. Now another dagger has been drawn by Lambe, and he chooses to invade QAZ city. That's one of the options. But I was going to say that since there's now only 1 dagger that fits into the square, so first of all, Lambe can hope to draw that final dagger, in which case the meeple count will be even, so these 2 trapped guys versus these 2 trapped guys. But there was also a third possibility. If we take a little risk, and if we just leave that city hanging in the air for a second and don't invade it, maybe just start a new city of ourselves, for example here as Lambe, then on our next move, if we get some sort of Dorito tile, then we might actually add a point to Red City to make sure that it is turning into that vulnerable square. There would actually be only 1 tile that fits into that square, and this would be a complete Sophie's Choice block, because 1, 2, the same tile would have been needed for both squares. So maybe a bit of a missed opportunity for the Italian. I can understand how he would really want to share those valuable city points and not let QAZ finish another 8-point city, but since Red has already another city open, then maybe we can attack that city instead. So the attack like this has a little bit less value than usual. I really liked the blocking potential there, but Lambe is doing pretty well, 12 points ahead on the scoreboard, and QAZ did draw a city cap, so this move from Yellow did prevent the completion of that city, so Yellow accomplished that purpose at the very least. And he'll be looking forward to Increasing his scoreboard leads, maybe starting a 4-pointer over here. That certainly sounds solid. What else? Could go over here, but this is a bit of a dangerous road. I really like a scoring move more than I do a blocking move. There's also an opportunity to go here and build a 5-point road through Red's monastery. This would also prevent Red from building a 5-point road himself. The upside is they gain the 5 points, and he does. The downside, of course, is that your opponent gets 2 monastery points as a result. So it really will be a net 3-point road, and this would make it 1.5 points per turn, which is actually, it's pretty decent for a road tile, yeah. So it's a good find here by Lambe. I really don't like building my opponent's monasteries, but had he not done that, QAZ would have placed the straight line here himself and tried to build a 5-point road, and that would have been so much worse. So the Italian's still hanging in there. Really keen on getting at least 1 victory in a tournament which has not quite been going on so well for him, even though you can see that his rating's pretty decent, like around 600, just like his opponents, even though the peak ratings are much different. It's over 800 for QAZ and in the mid-60s for Lambe. Hi Afonso, hi Wise Maze. Red is now trying to block this road, which really is not that big of a deal. So probably as Lambe, like, the way we deal with this threat is we ignore it. Is the worst that Red can do is just cut our road short, like place a straight line here, make sure that our road is only 4 points wrong instead of 5 point wrong. A bit of miss here for Lambe, so very nice point, a very nice idea to score 3 points. But honestly, quite an easy tactical miss. Of course, you need to turn the city cap to the right, so that when somebody completes the city cap, then this vulnerable square next to Red City is exposed. I'm really surprised. It's a rather common tactic. I'm not sure what were Red's ideas there. But yeah, so of what were Yellow's ideas. Because this move, I mean, of course, Yellow was fortunate that Red kind of drew a clunky tile, but imagine if Red gets a city cap, then just Red gets 4 points for free, and with no positional concessions. Whereas if you turn the city cap the other way, facing to the right, then Red has a true dilemma. Like, if he does take the 4 points, then he exposes a square, a vulnerable square in his own city. Not something that he wants to do with only 1 meeple in hand, and not many places to get a meeple back. Now, probably another dilemma for Red. So he's thinking whether it's worth taking this 1 point next to his city, which would bring it super close to completion. The issue is that it would expose this vulnerable square from the top. And if it is restricted, then a Sophie's Choice block will occur. I'm pretty sure that Lambe is going to find that tactical idea. So the dagger being needed in 2 places, only 1 dagger remaining in the deck. But he still goes for it anyway. He kind of decides that, you know what, I mean, I have to try somehow. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. So the upside of that move is maybe we could hope that Lambe has a straight line in hand or some sort of other tile like a Dorito with the road, with which he can't block. But there were many blocking tiles in the deck. But then also the issue is, like, if you wait for too long, if you wait for something, like from Red's perspective, if you wait for a Dorito with a road maybe and try to build the city like this, you could be waiting for so long that your opponent might just go here, and then block you on this square as well. And then you truly are not even getting that extra city point. So that's why Red decided to just run with it. Didn't work out, but it does not mean that it was a mistake or anything. It might have been, but in order to know that precisely, like, you really have to spend a couple of minutes, look at the pool of unseen tiles. So what you need to figure out is how many exactly they're blocking tiles for yellow and how many they're tiles with which yellow can't block, and then just see what's your actually chance of getting away with this. Lambe trying to make a complete block, which is actually not a worthwhile endeavor, because QAZ already needs the same city cap in two places, right? So it's only trying to decrease the value of the dagger tile by a couple of points. So it's really not worth to be going there. But since Lambe is starting a new city anyway, so he might as well just do it. Now, as for the other sensitive square, then there's no way to block that further. You just really have to wait for the last dagger and to try and draw that tile if you're yellow. I mean, you also need to draw that tile in order to win if you're red, probably. Just because Red's meeple situation is really not that great. There is one thing that Red can do, and that's something that Lambe can prevent. There is a splitter tile, which goes over here nicely for a 6-point farmer, and maybe an invasion into the main field, which would then grow from 9 to 15 points. That actually would be pretty nice. Then Red, of course, I mean, yellow could reinvade from here, but it's not that easy. It's not always possible. And I think what Lambe is thinking now, whether it's worth for him to go over here and for him to maybe even draw a farmer. The issue with that move, even though it's a completely decent move, if he were to do it, then he will be giving a meeple back for QAZ. So his meeple advantage will be gone, and then the Chinese player might either outplay him or outdraw him, because 2 meeples is much more to work with than just 1 meeple. And I guess this is what's going through the Italian's mind right now, and that's why he chooses not to even go there. That's pretty interesting. So he really wants to preserve that meeple advantage at the expense of 2 points. He's going to roll the dice. He's going to give Red a couple of chances to draw the splitter himself. And now from Red's perspective, I'm wondering how bad our position is. And he decides not too bad, because what Red could have done, Red could have placed his last meeple and decided to simply overrun the city with a 2-to-1 majority and get himself 12 points or something. That could have worked, but Red figured that first of all there were not many big tiles remaining. There were actually only 3 at the time, although only or a whole lot, meaning 3, that's a matter of perspective. And I think he also wants to preserve his meeple and just not go there yet. First of all, because there's still a chance to draw a splitter. Second, he can still get himself a little bit back into the scoreboard by completing this 8-pointer here. And maybe he just wants to still, despite the fact of being behind, he still prefers to minimize the variance, just hoping to outplay his opponent a little bit later. So at his level, at the sort of mid to top master level, players have a really good sense of the appropriate amount of risk to take. This is really what separates masters from experts mainly. And Red decides that invading the city on the left is just a little bit too crazy. He's now trying to protect indirectly his city on the right. So what he's doing, he's limiting the number of tiles that fit here for invasion or blocking. It does not protect him from this particular fine tile that Lambe had in hand. But now probably we'll be looking... oh, look at this. I didn't get his move. I thought he would be trying to go over here and try to kind of get away with a city, you know, with a triangle and a tube and a city cap, but he instead just discards the tube, which is not a full discard. It's actually now protecting the square a little bit. Since Red is out of meeples, I think now it will be in Red's interest to complete Yellow's road, just to get a meeple back, to have something to work with. Now, great move from Lambe. Instead of taking 2 points... oh wait, that wasn't Lambe. That was QAZ. But also nice move. Actually, then I don't get this move at all. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Why would you rob yourself of the splitter if you're red? Oh, okay, so QAZ now commented in the chat, interesting game, which I think you should see. What this means is, you luck box, you yellow luck box, keep drawing my daggers, how dare you? Because this is the last dagger that has been drawn by Lambe, so these meeples are never getting back. These meeples are never getting back. Lambe now is trying to invade Red City, but believe it or not, Red has an actual chance in this game. First of all, he still has the majority on the field. 9 points over here, whereas this 3-point guy has not yet connected, as likely as it is with one Dorito. No. Dorito? With one vanilla still remaining. Yep. So 4 vanillas on the board here, and a 5th vanilla fits here, of course drawn by Lambe. Yeah, but based on what Xiangyu is saying in the chat, it sort of seems like he doesn't really believe his ability to win the game here, but this is not true. Well, I mean, now will be much harder, as Lambe probably will be inclined to go over here. But there are several routes of victory, and all of them have to do with these cities. There's still a couple of triple city tiles left, and by a couple I mean 2. So if you get a city cap and invades over here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then you get 14 or 16 points. And you get 12 points, actually 14 or 16, no, 12 or 14 if you invade over here. So it is possible to overrun this city, it is possible to overrun this city, and there are still tile combos that allow that. And if QAZ manages to accomplish that in like a 2-turn sequence, then suddenly he is slightly ahead on the scoreboard, and his 7-point monastery with a blocked meeple is not doing really all that bad, because these 2 guys combined are scoring 10 points compared to these blocked guys who are scoring 5. But the 6 points from this city certainly won't be helping that much for the Chinese player. You can also see how Lambe chose not to invade the field, because, well, I mean, he gets the same 6 points, right, by unifying 3-point farmer and a 9-point farmer, but then this way he also gets to reduce variance, he also gets to make sure that QAZ cannot draw a splitter for these cheap 6 points, also cannot reinvade the field. It also makes sure that, for example, if this city gets completed, then only the yellow farmer is scoring for it and not the red one. Okay, so finally QAZ gets the tile. There's a pretty obvious move that he could play. If you really want to try and win this game, what you should be trying, if you go over here and you try to win that city. I don't think these sort of moves where you split the cities and you drop a 6-point farmer, this is not going to cut it. It's just not enough. So we go here. We have a 50-50 shot, or actually not 50-50, but a little bit less, to draw the horse tile on our next soon enough. But we also even have a 1 in 9 chance to draw the horse tile on our next move, and that's actually pretty good. It's a relatively grim position, and that's why he goes for it. It is, of course, very risky, but very risky is exactly how you have to play. Yeah, the issue is that the monastery spot that QAZ was pre-building for himself is now occupied by Lambe, who also now happens to get this lovely tile that he's probably going to use over here to score a 10-point ruin, or 9-point ruin, which was also pre-built by QAZ. QAZ now, of course, trying to block a little bit, but it should be a bit too much to deal with. Now Lambe needs to be patient here and not complete QAZ's cities. Just adding 1 monastery point seems to be enough to do the trick. And the reason why I want to do that, you really don't want to give your opponent meeple back with tempo. So you need to make sure that your opponent finishes the city if he so choose which of course they will, and then they give you yellow 1 meeple back, and then you get to use that meeple on your next move. QAZ with a triple city tile, just not the kind of triple city tile that he wants. Probably is looking... No, don't do that. Don't do that. What's that about? Lambe saying, luck on my side, just trying to be polite, but I wouldn't say anything if I were him. Like, of course he drew really, really well, drawing the 12%er for these daggers over here, drawing the coin flip for here, but it's something that just has to happen once in a while. And, you know, 12% of the time is 1 every 8 games. We have streams almost every day, so this means that almost every week we're going to see something like this occur. Actually, because we're having multiple games per week, then this sort of stuff should statistically be occurring a couple of times per week. So that's really no such a big deal. And I wonder if the Chinese player knows it, if it has gotten on their nerves and could possibly affect their playing quality. Yep, Lambe is making the comment about daggers, doing my job here, but okay. That just makes it easier for me. But also with that said, like QAZ is correct. I mean, Lambe really played well, kind of controlled the situation using all of his daggers. I mean, just one kind of pretty glaring tactical mistake, that would be this one, but it ended up not costing him. Could also have been a misclick, actually, if you know, sometimes if you mean to orientate this tile to the right, but then if you face it downwards by accident, you're still going to take the 3 points for the road, of course, but if you do it, for example, if I were to misclick like this, I would not even indicate to my opponent, either with timing tells or in the chat, that it was a misclick. I would just stay silent. So really, the Italian was playing well here, rewarded with some good tiles, and QAZ also respect for trying to actually set up those comebacks. The coin flip setup was very nice. I guess the thing that wasn't very nice is that Lambe took care of his other setups, taking the monastery spot and taking the ruin as well, for a massive 23 points difference. Let's see if the players are suggesting to have a break, and yes, indeed there are. Hi, Polo Verde, and thank you again for the congratulations, which of course refer to the Mind Sports Olympiads this weekend, of which I'm still experiencing a lot of positive emotion. So, also I've already finished 80% of the editing for the first 2-hour video of the recap of some crucial moments, so this should come out actually sometime soon. Also wanted to point out that this stream is a bit unplanned because the match was kind of scheduled at a short notice, so I only found out like 5 minutes or 7 minutes before the match was starting, and I figured, okay, let's make a stream, sure. Yeah, but this was actually supposed to be my editing time, but that's okay. Catching the action is more important, and editing can resume in the evening. Thank you so much, Wisemates, for the kind words. That is certainly the intention. Although, of course, like, I really was trying for the Mind Sports Olympiad, and I'm like really happy that I won. But one thing that helped me do it, in addition to some key tiles, was the fact that I tried not to focus so much on the outcome, but more on like the games themselves, just making good moves. Because if you start like thinking about too much about either that you want to win or that you have to win or whatever. Like if it becomes about winning, then you, in addition for some other kind of problems that they are, then you just start playing worse. This was the case with me like 2-3 years ago, and anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, Wiseman is also saying just stay silent, let opponent tilt. That's a great approach. I like to use that too. I mean, not that I like if my opponent tilting or anything. I'm actually not really prone to Schadenfreude, and if anything, I actually don't like when my opponent has too many negative emotions, because then they sort of are expressed in a way that like poisons the room a little bit. But then I also am not gonna like calm them down on purpose. No, that's okay. You could recover in the second game. Of course, no, please don't recover in the second game. I want to win. So Lambe is being polite here. That's a great approach. But yeah, I was playing a game against... So I was playing competitive Scrabble at the 2024 Mind Sports Olympiad in person. And, well, some of y'all might Scrabble, but basically the thing that you need to know is that the principles are very, very similar to Carcassonne, except that the tiles have letters on them. So there's also like probabilities, there's a lot of luck involved as well, maybe more so than in Carcassonne actually. And I was getting pretty good tiles and like getting some high-scoring words on the board, and then my opponent, who was much higher rated than me, that's why he probably assumed that like he was supposed to win, just kind of like kept visibly expressing his frustration and like kept like slamming the clock every turn. And yeah, I didn't like it, even though it probably made him like play a little bit worse, because he also made some mistakes as well, which I made sure to not point out after the game. Why was I saying this? I lost my train of thought. Oh, beautiful quote there. The next game is always the toughest. Yeah, but basically, my point is just accept the variance as part of the game. Try to find the best moves. Don't slam clocks. And enjoy the game and try finding good moves. That's pretty much it. And this is exactly what both players are trying to do now. At least I don't see any outrageously risky moves or anything like this. Some quick points for both sides. Some city invasions are waiting to happen. Lambe now here is thinking of maybe drawing a sequence of triple cities, extenders, Doritos, and trying to build a big city or medium-sized city with a 3-2 majority. It is not all that unlikely to happen, so at some point the Chinese player will need to address this threat. Probably not right now, because if you go here, then your opponent can actually quite easily invade with 1/3 road Doritos, so he just simply finishes a road, starts a new city. Lambe gets probably the best tile he could have wished for, or the second best rather. And he is now indeed setting up that invasion of the city. And red now has 4 options, 3 of which try to address that threat. So, of course, you really don't want to leave this alone, because there's still plenty of Doritos, like triple city, Dorito, 22-point city, here I come, and a win 2-0 for the Italian. So with this city cap, option 1 is just to ignore that threat and finish the city at the top. This is the move that I like the least, because this threat is pretty important. Then there's the question, which square do we try and cover first? This one or this one? Like, where do we exert pressure? If we choose this square, then there are 2 almost symmetrical options of going over here, but they're not fully symmetrical. This one appears to be... Okay, this one appears to be slightly better. The main reason is the fact that this square is restricted, and so it is much... Actually, no, I take that back. This option I think is slightly better, but it's very subtle. And the reason why this option is better is precisely because this square is restricted and this isn't. Then you go here, and if your opponent gets not a Dorito but a triple city, then they of course want to put it over here to try and shield themselves from your invasion at the top. This will reopen a better reconnection platform from the right. And I think this must be exactly the logic that QAZ is trying to figure out here. And that's why he's going for that invasion or not. So it's precisely because this square is more free, red can use it for a future invasion in the event of this triple city tile. There are also some elements of dagger asymmetry, the fact that there are two right-handed daggers gone and no left-handed daggers gone. So one of the factors that you need to take into account is, like, if your opponent gets into a Dorito, gets a Dorito here, how likely are you that you're going to have your meeple trapped? But in this particular case, it was actually equally likely, because your opponents could draw either one of the 3 road Doritos or one of the 3 field Doritos. So you actually don't know necessarily whether you're going to be stuck with a road pointing to your city cap, presuming that the red meeple is here, or a field pointing in your city cap. But all that aside, I actually think that red there chose the second best move. I would have gone over here with the city cap and tried to pressure that square first. There are several reasons for this. First of all, this square requires one of the 7 remaining big tiles, or one of the 8 remaining big tiles actually, whereas this square requires either a Dorito or a big tile. So there are more tiles that fit here than here. So it is actually more likely that my opponent will be able to run away from me than if I place over here. And the second idea is that I am preparing a road monastery or a regular monastery, so this move just gives me that extra point, and that's very nice. But this move also a very, very decent choice, and now we can see that QAZ is trying to follow up. He's also now trying to build up another city for compensation. And there's also one other reason why I really like setting up this monastery spot as soon as possible. Maybe we can do that with some sort of road tile later, like a curve. Because there are many scenarios from red's perspective where yellow actually completely finishes the city, but they're doing okay. They're doing, but no. Yellow completes the city, but red is doing okay nonetheless. Because the city is like, what, 22, 24, something like this. It's not actually that big. If we get an 8-pointer over here, control of the field, then we get like another monastery, then maybe even a farmer over here, then we're doing just fine, if not better than yellow. So all we need for yellow not to finish the city too soon. That's all we need. In the meantime, the game has slowed down a little bit as players get tiles which do not mandate obvious moves, such as the straight line. So now it's time to update the match scoreboard. Thank you, Wisemates, for confirming that the value of the city would be at least 24. I've also been doing one thing which I'm trying out. Instead of, when I'm commentating, instead of trying to count the city points, I'm just trying to look at it and estimate. And I've been noticing that I very often have been within 2 points of the correct answer, just by looking at the size of the city and some shield. And I would want to learn that, because it could speed up some real-life counting. So one thing that y'all might not know about QAZ here, or Xiang Yu Chen, that in person he counts points, and I mean not the mental counting that you do, and like not the mental counting that you do when you try to figure out how many points there are in total if you add the incomplete features. I'm talking about like when you complete the feature in person, then there's no software, there's no board game arena to count the points for you automatically, so you just have to do it manually. And then most players do it, you know, like you close a city and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2, it's 8. And then you kind of like do that with your finger, you maybe even announce that, and then you move the little scoring meeple on the scoreboard. I tend to just move, for example, if I'm adding 8 points from, I don't know, from 33 to 41, I just move from 33 to 41. Some players like to like make these little steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like walking the meeple through. What Xiangyu does, he just finishes the feature, doesn't say anything, moves the slider like instantly, and then that's it. And actually many players don't like that, including myself, because then, wait, can we just double check those points? Like, is that accurate? And sort of it adds that little like mental strain to the game, because it makes me sort of do some more work to double check my opponent. But I'm bringing this up just because in order to be able to do that and like move that slider very, very quickly, you actually have to do mental arithmetics quite quickly as well. And not only mental arithmetics, but also just like looking at the board and just looking at the feature and then automatically assuming how many points it's going to be. Four points for this road. This, I can count to 4. I have been playing this game for over 10 years. I can count to 4. QAZ now with a fantastic farmer, and I think his position is now great. Even if Lambe finishes his city, like Q got all his possible compensations, all the stuff that I was talking about. The first on the field up top, 8-point city, sets up another monastery spot, a very, very good 12, maybe 15, maybe 18-point farmer. And now he'll just need to wait for the city to be finished and simply use those seemingly useless tiles to shape the board to his liking. This move serves a double purpose. First of all, it puts additional pressure on this roads, maybe blocking it in the future. It also eliminates a potential field connection platform from the rest. And of course, always nice to add a green square to your field. Lambe is now using a monastery in a counterproductive way a little bit. I think the Italian might be overestimating the power of his position. Even the power of what his position's gonna be after the city is completed, which is also not a guarantee, by the way, because you see which dagger Lambe just drew again. There's one of those in the deck. And Xiangyu could draw the last dagger, although I doubt his dagger drawing skills after the last game that we just saw. But as unlikely as it seems, imagine if that were to happen, then he could just place it over here and still block the square. So Lambe still needs to do the work of drawing this Dorito, and it could take quite a while. Now, also, Lambe now takes 3 points, but I doubt if he's very happy about it. Because ideally, as the Italian, we want to first drop a farmer here, and then complete their 3 points, bringing our farmer into red's field. Instead, he's sort of building his small points, but he really needs to get bigger points as soon as possible, especially since red now significantly restricted the city. There are, of course, still 2 tiles that fit into that square, but even if Lambe gets them, which he does, then suddenly this city has more squares that need to be completed before they are completed. And this gives red more time to invade the city or block. Now, given the fact that he now has inadvertently enlarged red city, which would be one criticism of this move, he has committed himself to a certain play. I guess as Red, we just have to spend our last meeple and equalize the city. And now it just seems a bit too big, so we can't afford really the completion of the city anymore. Yeah, so that was the thing. I think before that move, even though I might have made it myself, before that move, the city was a manageable size. Like, if you could just get a monastery, then your stronghold on the fields should be able to help you withstand this city. Now the city is just a bit too big, because now it's not going to be 24. It's going to be 26, 28, 30, 32, at least 34 now. And this is a bit too much, but he doesn't seem to care. I guess his plan is to simply hope that Lambe builds up the city a little bit more, and then we can use our last meeple to invade a bit later, or to block this city. In which case, the advantage would still be on the side of a Chinese player. I think one thing that he really, really wants to do is to keep a meeple in hand to meeple a potential 8-point monastery over here, of which there's still 4 remaining in the deck. Or, you know, he could just draw the 2 remaining Doritos for the square, in which case he would never have to worry about anything. Let's see how many city caps there are left. Not that many, actually. No vanillas. We're running short on daggers, but there still is one. No umbrellas. No starting tiles. No splitters. Except for the one horizontal splitter. Yeah, maybe that was also QAZ's idea, is that it's actually not all that likely that Lambe will be completing this city anytime soon. Also note how yellow has started a 4-point road and is trying to take care of this invasion square. It does make it a bit harder for him to finish his city, but maybe that's okay. I wonder if there's ever a world where Lambe just wins with the city as a ruin, because it is scoring like a good 16 points or something. Or 15, but maybe not after this, as the sequence of monasteries finally is drawn, which of course looks super, super lucky, but it really isn't, because eventually this tile was going to come. It's, of course, unpleasant for Italian fans to see 2 monasteries at the same time, or back to back, but this was also not at all unlikely. I think what's more unpleasant here for yellow is the field control of red. 9 points here, 15 points here, that's 24. So we probably need to either complete the field or invade, or both. And he chooses to invade. That's a pretty interesting choice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's still, no, 6. 2 crossroads remaining. So in theory, QAZ could actually cut off his farmer in both directions, but it's unlikely to happen in both directions. So he does, in fact, get to invade. He also gets to block Red's monastery in the process, not that it matters. But the issue for him now is Lambe needs a crossroads, because this guy is also looking to be part of a big field. This is how the Chinese and the Italian are expressing their affinity for Brazilian culture, because we are about to see a huge, huge field, unless, of course, Lambe draws a crossroads. In which case, his position is great, because 15 points over here are, I guess, enough to outrun the field and the scoreboard and the monastery, but only in case yellow manages to complete his 5-point road. He now gets a road monastery, now tries to block over here a little bit, which makes sense. QAZ with a big tile. Probably looking to set up another field attacking platform, perhaps, although it's not clear if he needs that. Maybe it's not a big deal if the fields are separated, because he does have his 9-pointer, and he still has one cap with which he can score 7 points over here. Or actually, no, just one cap, yeah. The parallel splitter. So he simply blocks some possible field invasions. Yellow gets a meeple back. And QAZ now with a dagger, looking whether to go full Brazilian or not. There are some advantages and disadvantages. So if you do connect the fields, then of course this guy now instantly gets access to 24 points, which are of course game winning. But then this also makes possible for Lambe to reinvade, perhaps with a crossroads plus curve combo, and equalize that field. Lambe tries to type something in the chat. Should probably not do that. And now he needs to decide. Is it important to score those 4 points and just wait for a better invasion tile? Or is the field really all that matters, in which case you can forego those 4 points and probably use this tile to set up another field invasion platform? So there is one, probably the most likely field invasion is at the top, through the outside of a curve or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, still one curve remaining. But maybe you want to go at the bottom trying to set up another field invasion option, because you could anticipate that your opponent might place a tile. For example, if your opponent gets the last city cap, which is the vertical splitter, he might even forego the 4 points. He probably will. He'll just like go over here to block access to the field. So this is sometimes the case. If there's only one field connection option and it will be your opponent's turn, you might want to set up another field connection option so that your opponent cannot block both. Yeah, for example, I think here's the move that he missed. I was suggesting this. There was a much better move. Just go over here and, let me borrow a term from Scrabble, fork the board, because it opens this part and this part. So kind of, I guess it also comes from chess, really, like a knight fork. So you are creating 2 invasion squares, and your opponent can't make advantage of those. Instead, the Italian just discards the tile, which... No, that's smart. Oh, he's creating a platform here. Duh. What am I doing? No, that's smart. I think this move was possibly better, but maybe not. This is smart. Paulo Verde is saying that Lambe should have blocked the field's connection before closing this road. Actually, it's quite possible, yes. I think it was more important. But then, maybe he decided that actually it's okay. If QAZ were to connect, then he can still reinvade. And in that case, he gets more. Now, QAZ blocks. Okay, this is good, because we still have access to the field. GG is saying Lambe. Oh, come on. It's still possible to invade, I think. Not straight away, but like, can we really not open anything? 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, we can go here, for example, and try to open something. Also, there's still a regular monastery, which is actually just fantastic. You know why? Because this means that there's sequences possible, like where you go at the top, try to invade. Well, yeah. It seems to me that the Italian just resigned a little bit sooner. Like, there's more how you can play around with the board a little bit. So let's see what the options are. I see there's one more Dorito in the deck. So if we go over here, we're setting up a pretty simple Dorito plus curve combo. And there's definitely a Dorito and there's definitely a curve. Yeah, so you see, now red blocks this invasion platform. But then what if we get a Dorito plus curve? Well, we get a monastery anyway, but still, like, just try something. This move I actually liked, because it is not that easy to block, although this move was probably better just because it opened 2 connection platforms, and we also know that it would have worked. It would have totally worked, given the tile run out. QSE with a curve, now probably scoring some extra things. And showing a clinic in the second game, managing to delay the completion of Lambe City, making sure that it never gets completed, and despite losing a 15-point ruin and a bunch on the scoreboard, just waiting a long time for this monastery sequence, taking a stronghold on both fields, not allowing for his opponent to use his temporary meeple majority, which he did have somehow, and then just holding on. Results into only a 14-point win, by the way, so any field invasion would have absolutely done it. So a decider is what we're going to see. So that's a great way to start the week. And the Italian is putting more of a fight than honestly I expected. I thought that they might be demoralized after yesterday a little bit, and given that Sangyu is very strong. But here we are, a decider, and an almost equal rating. Hi, Hugo. Yeah, so you're suggesting, so was there a way to set up a field invasion whilst also scoring 2 points? Was there a way to also, oh, duh. Oh, on the left, right? Like this, yeah? That's actually would have been really nasty because it's almost unblockable and you're setting up a particular sequence. Wait, not scratch the almost, it's completely unblockable. It sets up which chance? Was that 8% or something? Well, 8% is still better than 0. Yeah, so let's say if you go over here and take 2 points, and I presume that this is the 2-point road that you mean. This monastery was not here yet. Then you hope for the Dorito plus monastery combo in that order. So you get yourself a meeple here. And then you get the monastery and then you invade like this. And this was completely unblockable because there was no way for red to access this area of the board with the road tiles which were remaining in the deck. So I think these were the tiles, right? The straight line and the curve which he got. Yeah, I mean, still, like 8% is better than 0. 8%, of course, is just 1 in 12. Yeah, Xiangyu is the one who keeps suggesting the breaks, which makes me worried actually, because they were suggesting quite long breaks in his match with Game Over with Bogdan Korkan a few days ago, and it turns out that those were due to his physical condition. So hopefully at least they're a bit better now by this time. I assume they must feel better since they arranged this match so early in the week, earlier than anybody else. And they appear to be not too demoralized after all these daggers. So Lambe with a starting advantage. Yellow meeple on this city, immediately equalized by red. A 3-point road started by Lambe. QAZ now snatches that shielded city piece, starts a city on the left. Yellow tries to invade on the right, completing a 14-point city. With the triple city, he is one step close to doing so. He's very, very close to doing so. Red was trying to start a 4-point road at the same time opening an invasion square. Now he gets himself a 4-point monastery, also opening another re-invasion square. Lambe does not get a Dorito to connect over here. Instead, probably settling for measly but important 4 points. But given the fact that he's thinking this through, maybe he's thinking about another move, which he really shouldn't. I mean, of course, it's always good to think. But I wonder if he might be too fixated on the city over here and maybe try to do something like this. I think this is what he's thinking about. Like hoping to cover up that square a little bit, start a new city cap, but no. Normal move, 4 points, take the lead. Allow your opponent to invade if he has to. But this here position actually has to favor Lambe, especially after this side, especially after this draw. Because even with this tile still available in the deck, 6 big tiles only remaining, and it will be red who needs to place the tile over here just to get his monastery meeple back. Which is a nice concession to force your opponents to make, because red already needed the big tile over here for his lip-shaped city pattern, which is now been sort of broken anyway. Lambe finds the best possible square to use for obstruction, and... Okay. Sure. They start a new city. And I'm fine. Let me just try to be... Okay, I'll try to be as nice as possible about this move. But basically, whenever the quadruple city has gone out, then you don't want to try and block that square with just any tile. You want to block that with a city tile. So if you want to try blocking, it actually might even be worth to do something like this and spend the tile, maybe even meepling this roller to the top, trying to make sure that you stick in a city piece over there. If you make a move like this, which is I guess okay because you're starting a new city, but then I would have just preferred a different location for a variety of reasons. It's actually quite easy to defend. Unless, of course, this happens. I was just about to say that road plus... No, Lambe, no, I can't watch this. Please don't try losing on purpose. Why would you do that? I mean, if you can block the monastery, just block the monastery. I don't know, maybe he's afraid of that he's playing against a master or something, or maybe he figures that this city cap is super valuable, which it isn't. But if you start to block, which by the way is unlikely in the first place, and then you're fortunate enough to draw sort of the least common out of the 3 types of tiles in Carcassonne, and by types I mean city plus road, city plus field, road plus field. City plus road is the least common of the 3. And then you're not going to use it there, and then going to allow your opponent to defend and also set up a 2-point road. Like, why would you do that? I guess, no, there are some ideas behind this move, yeah? Like, he maybe wants to draw a dagger over here and block this meeple completely. But with so many curves remaining, this meeple doesn't really get blocked here very often. So with blocking things, generally what you want to do, instead of block all these little meeples by a little bit, by a tiny bit, like reduce that probability by a couple of %. No, just like pick one spot, block this, make sure that that meeple never sees the lights of day, and then get yourself a sure meeple advantage of 1 meeple rather than a temporary advantage of 5 meeples, because eventually he's going to draw all the tiles anyway. Like, There's still 2 tiles that fit here for 75% and extra 2 points. There's still 3 tiles that fit here, 88% with extra 2 points. So yeah, QAZ might like suffer a little bit without meeples, but he's overall in a very, very good position. Okay, first set of meeples released, quite deservedly. Hi Nepamai, hi Critter. Yeah, I know. So, by the way, Paulo Verde, can you like confirm who is the captain of Team Italy at the moment? Is it Giulio Tomao? Because I think somebody needs to, like give some motivational speeches to their teammate. Yeah, really, really surprised about that sequence. Maybe it's the caliber of the opponent that scares them, or maybe it was a genuine strategic choice, but maybe just trying to overcomplicate things. But typically, when you can block your opponent's meeple permanently, especially this early in the game, 95% of the time, this will be the best move that you have. If we're talking about 100% complete block. Nevertheless, at the moment, the Italian is ahead on the scoreboard as a result of a bunch of quick points, but not for long. Red has this wonderful construction project which will yield him at the very least 10 points regardless if the city gets completed. Red also has this road which will soon be completed unless it's blocked. Actually, after this crossroads is drawn, maybe our Chinese fans should start worrying just a little bit because there are 2 tiles only that fit here. Still 75%, but a bit of a wait. But now Lambe can make a Sophie's Choice block, and that is super annoying. So now there's a 75% chance that Red will be losing at least one of his meeples, so that's something. Lambe could actually... well, okay, that's fine. But I think Lambe should have just completed this block and like even blocked this square just to make sure that the monastery never makes the lights of day again. And Red successfully defends, but not for long. This splitter tile is completely devastating. Because all this hard work building to 12 points will come to waste as Yellow invades at the bottom, and that's why QAZ says, you know what, I'm just going to make this city the decisive feature in the game. I'm going to set up a platform for blocking or invasion, and I am even going to spend the monastery on this, given the fact that I only have 2 meeples and there aren't many good monastery spots on this board anyway. Oh, great, Paulo Verde. So if you are the captain, then you are the one who needs to do the motivational speech. That's your job now. So great that you're watching. Lambe now needs to figure out what to do. And it appears to me that this is one of the options. Yes, you can start a field. And as QAZ, how about we just YOLO it? We just like do the splitter thingy, give our opponent 4 points, and we just hope that he doesn't block us. I'm not sure how often it works. I am a bit concerned about some certain tile distributions, and I'll talk about this for a second, but it looks so enticing. But since the Chinese player is not making this move immediately, he must be counting, he must be figuring out how likely he is to complete that city if he does the splitter thingy. So if we make the split, then there are 2 concerns. First, they will be getting 4 points in a meeple back, and then they can just draw a curve. Yellow can draw a curve and block the square, in which case we're stuck with 16 points, which is not that bad. But then we still gave him a couple more, and we gave him a meeple, and that's a bit meh. But there is also a bigger threat. If they get something like a starting tile and go over here, they can invade that city and share it nonetheless, plus gain the extra 4 points, because there's still 2 extenders left, and there are none of the horizontal splitter tiles left. So once they invade, there's no way to separate the potential meeples anymore. But given the fact that there's still 7 straight lines remaining, and there are a lot of city plus field tiles still, well, at least a sizable chunk, like 3 of these guys, some cows and so on, it is actually quite possible that Lambe does not get a blocking or invasion tile, and this is the case. So now, QAZ is one tile away from either finishing the city for a boatload of points, boatload defined as 34, or at the very least covering it up with one of the 7 remaining straight lines, allowing himself to draw a city cap in the future, and he does get a tile to cover up. It won't be difficult for him to calculate that this way of covering up is the most profitable, and indeed, we have ourselves a huge sit-up. So Lambe is doing his best to gather compensation. 6-point monastery, 7-point road, 9-point field, which will be turned into a 12-point field in the future. Now, the next order of business for the Italian is to drop a farmer over here. It's super important to disallow any ideas of completing this city with a farmer from red. A scoring tile for Lambe could score 2 points, but maybe could also go over here, develop his field, set up some other scoring opportunities, but maybe it's time to actually sacrifice and go over here and drop a farmer, and this is exactly what he does. Great move from Lambe. It's one that I also find a bit difficult psychologically to pull the trigger on, because I hate sacrifices and quick points. But if you think about the overall win probability, it's really, really nice to cover up that field because, well, first of all, you take 6 points, 9 points actually, because this tile, this city is also part of that field. You deny your opponent an easy farmer, and then if your opponent completes this road, which they will be striving to do, then you will be also getting this city as part of your field. QAZ trying to cover up their city a little bit. Some quick points for Lambe. Great position for yellow, even if red finishes their city. Even if red finishes their city soon. QAZ with a curve, and his idea now is to try and connect the 2 farms. I don't think he wants to fight for the farms, but also it's more about protecting his city a little bit. So what actually it really doesn't protect the city by that much, huh? I'm not sure how much I like that move, because then just Lambe gets an easy straight line, an easy road with a straight line, and then takes 5 points and exposes the square anyway. And also that bottom field, it's actually still technically possible to fight for it. So here's our plan as red. We get a straight line, 3 points, yummy yummy. Then we get a crossroads and we go over here, but instead of taking 2 points, we drop a farmer over here. And we also get 2 meeples back for the monastery and for the road. And then we get the other crossroads. We go over here. Then we do take the 2 points. And then we actually unify our farmer here with this farmer over here. And then we're fine. Lambe, in the meantime, is building his farm at the top. QAZ is trying to restrict his monastery a little bit. Well, finally a scoring tile for the Chinese player, but immediately his city's getting delayed, but that's okay. There's still Doritos. There's still not so many, but some city caps available. And there are, of course, still 3 caps that fit over here. QAZ with a scoring tile. Valuable 3 points for the Chinese player with just 1 meeple. Lambe with a fantastic tile. Scores 4 points and unites the field. I think a bit premature. I would have probably preferred 4 points over here. QAZ. I think now it's time to gamble a little bit. How about we go over here and drop a farmer? Because that top field is something that's worth fighting for, maybe. And then we can hope for this cap, and then we can finish the city, and then we can drop another farmer before the Italian does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are not so many curves remaining. But I think the reason why red will not go over here is because that field is relatively easy to reinvade, but he decides to go there anyway. Just not the Not the place where I would have gone, because it's much easier to reinvade than my suggestion, because this suggestion over here is just a bit more potent. Because I think Lambe just goes here now. I mean, he doesn't take the 4 points, he just goes here. And then these farms are completely equalized. Taking 4 points would be tempting, but it also would be madness, because it would be letting this red guy into the field and then immediately shutting down all the best connection platforms. But maybe madness is precisely the thing that we need in order to win. No, we don't. Drop a farmer here. One thing that, of course, he should be thinking is the orientation of this tile, but I really like sort of this idea that just simply allows a new invasion in case you need it. Because there's some ideas how red can try and get a curve and some sort of crossroads, although he can't because he needs a crossroads here. Maybe a curve and a dagger if there's a dagger. Yes, there is. Yeah, Lambe does drop a farmer. Goes kind of the more traditional way. QAZ tries to build up. Lambe now builds up at the bottom. QAZ surely will try and block that city. Only 2 city caps remaining for this square. Lambe with a straight line. Probably looking to unify those fields at the top. Just trying to not allow any curve plus dagger ideas. Because red can still invade over there technically, sort of, kind of. And maybe leave this farmer here stranded. Instead, he chooses to make a move which does not make a lot of sense to me. So the Chinese master must know something that I don't. And finally, a 30-point city is complete by the Chinese player, who now surges ahead on the scoreboard. But never judge the game by its scoreboard, because Lambe has a lot of stuff. He has an 8-point monastery to equalize red's 8-point monastery. He has this wonderful 15-point field at the bottom, which is more than enough to account for these roads and city meeples, let alone the 12-point field at the top, currently in sole possession of red. Lambe with a straight line. Restricts QAZ city a little bit. Finally, QAZ with a bit of a scoring tile. Well, he does get 6 for a field, 2 for road, and he gets a meeple back, so that's kind of nice. These are 8 points just out of nowhere, and maybe there can be some sort of invasion. The last dagger has been drawn, so now it will be very difficult. But maybe city cap plus curve, maybe that's the route. But then if you do that, then you only get into this little field. You don't get into the big field. So you also need to hope for some kind of mistake from the Italian. Lambe looking to find that final blow, that one move that restricts options for his opponent to get that 100% winning chance. QAZ is a little bit closer than one might think, and he does have an extra meeple. So with the right tile, he could score maybe up to 16 points in his last 2 moves. The lack of curves certainly is a bit difficult, and not a great tile for QAZ, so that idea with city cap plus curve and all that kind of stuff, that just does not work anymore. And so what do we even do as red? You know what? The best that red can score in this position with this city cap in an open board with 2 meeples to spare is 2 points. The best that red can do is just like meeple a 2-point city over here. There isn't even a 3-point farm that he could claim with this tile. Nor are there field attacking options due to the fact that both road monasteries have gone out, so there will be no magical idea of dropping a tile over here and connecting like this. So probably there is no way to prevent an upset in this game. But he's still trying to think about it. Where do you go as red? I guess it's just really those 2 points. He's trying to find some sort of winning idea, and he... Nah, I don't like when players do that. So obviously he recognizes the loss, but... like when you start completing your opponent's features, that sort of shows some tilts. Nah, don't do that. Just play your maximum scoring endgame, which would be in his case 2 points for a city and like 4 points for a road or something. Well, I guess it doesn't matter necessarily what he plays, because like from a win percentage standpoint, like every move is 0%. But then still, like it just doesn't feel like the right thing to do. So what, we know, so let's just try and figure out what the score difference would have been. So he would have scored 6 more. Lambe would have scored 1 less. So 7 points less would be the score difference. Because it's also a bit interesting to see how close the game actually was. So the score would have been 1-1, 1-1-1, 104. No. 1-1-1. Yeah, 1-1-1, 104. So instead of 14 would have been a 7-point difference, still insurmountable. And Lambe manages to defeat a master with a peak rating of over 800 in a best of 3 series. This time by dropping all those compensation farmers. Despite QSE brilliantly deciding to split off Red's meeple, which normally is not what you want to do. Recognizing that it was unlikely that he would be blocked, saved his square, got his city tile, but it was just too late because the temporary meeple majority helped Red to secure all those field spots, and there was just nowhere to score. So will you look at that? So this actually gives Lambe some chance to qualify, because not only did he get himself the first match win, which was necessary, but also he took away a tournament point from one of his competitors. And then he has to win the last round, preferably 2-0 against somebody. I forgot who he's playing against. We'll have a look at that. And then he just has to hope that the stars align a certain way, that his other opponent's play with each other, achieving a result that favors the Italians. So it's still doable. So we congratulate Lambe, commiserations to Xiangyu, and now it's time to actually look at the situation. So, well, Ilya Slonimsky gonna qualify no matter what. QAZ now on 1 and 3. Lambe on 1 and 3 as well. Worst tiebreaker though, because he's now on 2-7. And he's on QAZ on 4-8. So what would need to happen? So let's say if Lambe wins 2-0, then he will be at 2-3, 4-7. That's the best possibility. And what does that mean? So first of all, it means that game over is not reachable for him, because even if game over loses 2 matches, he can only be on 5-7 because he has already won 5 games. And Tito is in the same situation, yeah. Nope, actually that's not great news for the Italian. I think he really needed to win 2-0 today. That one extra lost game means that we will be saying goodbye to the Italian after week 5. Because there's just no way to overtake them, right? I think I did my math right. Let's say game over loses. They're on 2-3 and 5-1 games, 7 lost games. Lambe already has 7 lost games and 2-1 games. So the best they can do is win 2-0, get themselves to 2-3, 4-7 record, in which case Tito and game over still qualify. So the only players who can threaten game over and Tito are Viv and QAZ, but let's see if even Xiangyu can do it. So now he is at 1-3 and 4-7. So then if he wins his last match 2-0, he's at 2-3, 6-7. In which case, if at least one of these two guys, game over or Tito, lose their next 4 games, so they lose everything, then they will get 2-3, 5-7. So there's even a chance for Xiangyu to climb to be in second place. It's a thin chance, but basically all he needs to do is like one of these guys going to perform poorly, and then he might overtake them. So what are the remaining matches? I believe also he has a chance to take some points away from Tito directly, because Tito has not played. Oh no, they already played. Yeah, and he already played game over and lost to him. So really, not many great options for the Chinese player, except what should be good for him is that he will be playing against another of his direct competitors, Viv, so he could just win against him 2-0, deny him a spot, and then after that he would just really need to hope that Tito and game over will be losing points. So game over is still yet to play with the group leader, and even though normally I would think of Bogdan as the favorite based on the performance of Ilya here, I wouldn't be surprised if he just managed to sweep the entire group with a clean 5-0 record. And this also means that since game over he won his match against QAZ earlier, then he actually only needs to win 1 game, not even 1 match, in order to guarantee himself the third place. So now please do correct me if I'm wrong, because as far as I remember, if these tiebreakers still do not resolve any potential issues, so of course first it's matches won, then it says the goal difference, like how many games you won and how many games you lost, And then after that, even if those markers are tied, then you look at the mutual duel, which favors game over. Unless, of course, all of these three guys are tied, and then it's not obvious who qualifies, because, and I think it's actually going to be game over. So if, in case of a triple tie, these guys have actually already played each other, and it's a bit of a chain win. So Tito won game over won QAZ, QAZ won against Tito, and then Tito won game over won QAZ, but because game over has this extra goal difference points, because he won 2-0, whereas the other matches for this trio were decided by just one game, then it will be Bogdan who qualifies. So this truly does mean that in order to qualify, Bogdan would need just one win in one game, not even one match. So yeah, still some slim chances for QAZ, no chances for Lambe. That's the tournament situation to my best understanding. Now, let's see. I know that my viewers are way, way better at this than I am. High self-evidence. And my commiserations about today. I wouldn't be so pessimistic about Viv. I would classify this as even odds. Hi Lambe, congratulations on your win today. Thank you, Wisemate, for confirming that the fourth tiebreaker is in fact the mutual match. Okay, so the situation is Self-Evident has to win 2-0 against Viv. And then Viv has to win 2-0 against Tito. Which, it's a lot of conditions, but none of them are entirely unrealistic, because Viv would be the favorite against Tito. And a condition of like winning 2-0 against your direct competitor, well, that's what's to be expected in a tournament like this. So at least it's not hoping for something, it's actually trying to do something. Anyway, so that's the match. Tomorrow we'll be having two matches. So I've looked at the polls, and most of y'all prefer, quite surprisingly, to have a look at the reigning champion in action. So tomorrow, 2000 UTC, we'll be watching someone you know against a player whom whose screen name I like to pronounce as Gatto. But I did find out that this GAT75 Lux is simply due to their first name, which is Gassion. And then we will be taking a bit of a sneak peek at this match. No, let me just try it here. That's... Wait. Yeah, at this match over here. Pavel Hudets, the bronze medalist of the Mind Sports Olympiad, against Oscaridis of Spain, former national champion. So that's, yeah, and I think this should be like a very quick match. So we'll be just maybe watching 5 or 10 minutes on this, and the rest of our streaming time will be devoted to Vladimir Kovalev trying to demonstrate his mastery against the newer French expert. And that's tomorrow, 2000 UTC, so in order not to miss that, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. Meeple the like button if you like anything about this video. It does help with the algorithm a lot. So see y'all tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.